Imagine sitting on a wet bus stop bench with exactly 43 rupees to your name. That's barely enough for a cup of tea and a bus ride home. For Arav, this was his entire net worth. His parents, a daily wage laborer and a seamstress, depended entirely on him. To understand the weight of his situation, look at this timeline of his job hunt. Each of these red marks represents a failed interview. 5 rejections is demoralizing. Arav had just walked out of his 127th. His phone battery was barely hanging on when he called his mother that evening. When she asked if he finally got a job, he couldn't bear to break her heart. He told her, not yet, but very soon. And then, sitting alone in the rain, he finally broke down and cried. By any conventional metric, his job search was a closed loop of failure. When you hit 127 straight rejections, the data suggests the strategy is broken and success has become mathematically improbable. Arav's entire approach was built on a childhood promise: education is the only way out. He assumed that if he showed up with a folder full of degrees and a record of personal sacrifice, the system would automatically reward him. He was pitching his past rather than his value. But if you fast forward to today, the picture is completely different. Arav sits on the other side of the desk as one of the youngest hiring managers at a major corporate firm. He broke his losing streak and secured a job on his 128th attempt. But years later, while sorting through his things, he discovered this piece of paper hidden inside an old book, a handwritten note that cast doubt on why he was actually hired. This leaves us with an investigation into 2 competing theories for his turnaround. Did Arav finally crack the code of the interview process through his own growth, or was there an unseen force pulling strings on his behalf? So let's look at the first theory. On the morning of his 128th interview, a stranger on the street handed Arav a book on communication skills and personal growth. This chart breaks down Arav's core lesson. The left path, pitching degrees, hits a solid wall. Companies hire problem solvers, opening the gate on the right. Over months, Arav rebuilt his identity, practicing communication, learning technical skills, and rewriting his resume for business outcomes. By the time he walked into interview 128, he had moved past simply asking for a chance. He told the panel that while he lacked years on the job, he had spent the last few months training specifically to solve their problems, betting that his sheer persistence would eventually outpace a standard pedigree. Under this hypothesis, Arav's months of self-directed tactical upgrades are the sole reason he finally broke his massive streak of rejections. But we have to rewind the timeline slightly to look at the second theory. We need to focus on the moments right before Arav received that book, and specifically on the man who gave it to him. On his way to an interview, Arav saw an elderly man struggling to lift heavy boxes outside a store. Without hesitating and expecting nothing in return, Arav stopped to help him carry the load. The man Arav helped on the sidewalk was the retired founder of the very firm where he had his next interview. This org chart reveals a massive complication. There is a distinct possibility that the retired founder quietly called the hiring committee and suggested they give the young man a shot. If this theory holds up, Arav's polished interview pitch was secondary. His job offer was actually the result of a secret orchestration triggered entirely by a simple act of kindness. Regardless of how it happened, the results were immediate. Arav moved his family out of poverty, installed backup electricity, and allowed his parents to retire from grueling manual labor. He built a successful career. But the mystery lingered until one afternoon, years later, when he was cleaning out old documents and found a small envelope tucked deep inside the pages of the book the founder had given him. It was a business card paired with a short message. It read, "Success comes to those who continue after everyone else has stopped. I hope you never give up." Finding this note doesn't neatly solve the mystery. Instead, it permanently locks our 2 theories together. Even if the founder did advocate for him, Arav still had to walk into that room and perform. If he hadn't spent months rebuilding his mindset, he likely would have failed the interview anyway. If Arav had only upgraded his skills, he wouldn't have stood out against vastly more experienced candidates without that quiet intervention. The breakthrough happens in the overlapping center. As a hiring manager today, he sees competence and character as a multiplier, not a simple addition. Professional luck is a paradox. True breakthroughs rarely happen because of a resume alone, and they don't happen just because you're a nice person. They occur when relentless self-improvement collides with the doors opened by your own character.